All right. All right. We are going to do something here. And we're going to hold people's feet to the fire here. And I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you to help. Big Sills and crew lay down the law for the Eagles 2024 roster. Okay? And if you don't perform to this level of what we're and our expectations are, you failed in 2024. Fair enough. Everybody sets goals. All players do. All players do. You start setting your goals now on what you want to accomplish. Right? Okay. Let's start out with the offensive guy. Oh, by the way, we're doing every player. Hey, get this. David goes, AJ Owens and Devontae Smith, best wide receiver duo, hands down. And too bad it hasn't resulted in anything. Congratulations. You got a nice pair of wide receivers that don't win shit. Keep it going, David. Good players, no doubt. Your quarterback needs them. Here we go. Jalen Hurts. With the talent on the team, if he throws for anything less than 4,200 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 10 picks, it'll be a failure. Is that a good number? 38 last year, right? I mean, we're only talking 400 yards more. I know he's never thrown for 25 touchdowns, but like you said, you have the best duo wide receivers in the NFL, right? By the way, I'm going to put this list and put them up there. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep a tracker on all these players. So do we agree? If Hurts goes over or touches 4,200 yards, 30 touchdowns, 10 picks with a brand new coordinator that you love and the best duo of wide receivers in the league, he fails. 4,200, 30 touchdowns. Are we going once? Going twice? You guys better say it now because it'll be etched in stone. And I will tweet this out after the program. Bob says no. If he throws for 3,800 again and runs he's not running the RPO, Bob, so you could take that out. Okay? Nick, you good with it? Martin, you good with it? No, because Hurts is a dual threat. No. Dual threat. Running quarterbacks stats don't mean shit to winning Super Bowls. No running quarterback who runs for 800 yards and 15 touchdowns wins Super Bowls. Nobody. Those are useless stats. Nobody has done that. No. 4,200. 30 touchdowns. And 10 picks. Okay. There it is. There is the benchmark for success personally for Jalen Hurts. We lock it in. Look at that. He gave him 10 picks. Be the first time in his career and the second Eagle to ever throw for 4,000 yards. Jesus criminy. You've had receivers go for 1,000 yards apiece the last 2 years, and he can't get over 3,900. We'll see. CJ goes, I say 3,800 with 30 touchdowns. Dude, he hasn't thrown for over 24 touchdowns. All right. Set in stone. Let's move on to Saquon Barkley. I got 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns, 45 catches, 500 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Now remember, the last 2 running backs have averaged 1,200 yards. I'm not really asking him to be over what the average has been with the running backs with Swift and with Sanders. I'm asking him to be more dual threat. You're paying him $10 million. If you get anything less than that, it's a downgrade from Sanders and Swift. So, are we good? 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns rushing, 45 catches, and 500 yards receiving with 5 TDs. That's 15 TDs and 1,800 rushing yards, or 1,800 total yards. 1,300 and 10 TDs combined, that's a downgrade. That's a downgrade, Pickin. Last year, Swift had 1,300 yards himself. Why are you paying a back $10 million to do what Swift did? Aren't you expecting that? If he's healthy? No. If he shits the bed because of his health, well, I told you he's a broken down player. But hey, you signed him. You signed him. Look at Jay Brown. How about Sills reach 1,000 views? Hey, Jay Brown. The Eagle, I could have 4 people watching the show. The Eagles watch it. So go watch some of your guys sitting in their mom's basement. They're talking to Johnny U. Dick. People of significance watch my show. Ask Devontae Smith and AJ and Micah. Just because 1,000 of your butt buddies watch your shows, that's not who watches this thing. Swift only had 10 and 5 TDs. Okay. And the year before, Miles had 1139 and 1139 and 12 touchdowns. So you're telling me, you're right. You're looking for a guy of Saquon Barkley's talents to only have 159 yards more than what DeAndre Swift did? Is that what you're saying? Why are you paying a guy $10 million then? Why? Right. Hey, Gatson, 1,500 seems a little high to me. I was thinking that too, but I think that's high. He's never rushed for that. That's why I went 1,300 and 10 touchdowns, 45 catches with 1,500. Sills, I got 1,600 yards. See, Martin, you're thinking the $10 million there. We're assuming he stays healthy. I agree. Okay, that's what I'm doing too. Hey, get this. Right, CJ, I'm actually giving Barkley the benefit of the doubt with these numbers, right? Xander, right? I'm giving the guy the benefit he's going to be healthy. They don't watch your show. They get, oh, okay, yeah, right, okay. Then go look at Devontae Smith and look at Slay. Whatever, guy. You kidding me? On my clips? My clips at times get 1 million views. Are you out of your mind? Clips from this show get 1 million views. 35,000, 275,000. That's tweets. Well, shit, dickhead. The content comes from somewhere, Junior. What a jackass. All right. Let's move on now to the wideouts. A.J. Brown. I got 1,300 yards, 100 catches, and 10 touchdowns. Is that cool? Is that cool? Is that cool for A.J. Owens? 1,300 yards, 100 catches, and 10 touchdowns. Let's see here. Steve, if you were a less hostile, dude, I'm talking to Philadelphia people. Who the fuck do you think we're talking to? Snowflakes in Santa Clara? Who do you think I'm talking to here? People in Wyoming? Remember where you're from. Act like it accordingly. Act like it. Honestly, dude, you think I'm talking to some snowflake in LA? Act accordingly. Oh, man. We are not bad Eagles fans. I never said you were. See, how did you get that I said that Eagle fans are bad? I actually like your attitudes. It's a no shit attitude. You give people shit, you give it back, you come back every day. Like you, Steve. You misunderstand me. It's not landing right for you. Okay? It's not landing right. You know what's funny? My wife is from Dallas. And you know what she said? She goes, "Does everybody up here in New England hate their lives?" I go, "Why?" She's like, "Jesus, man. Everybody up here just doesn't have the time of day for anybody." I'm like, "Yeah, well, that's kind of the attitude." She's like, "Everybody in Texas, man, something happens. People are like, hey, you need any help with anything?" Nobody in New England's going to do that shit. Everyone's got their own life to live. Act accordingly. So, 1,300 and 100 catches and 10 for A.J. Mrs. Owens. Okay. So far, Jalen Hurts has to throw for 4,200 yards and 30 touchdowns and 10 picks for it to be a success. Successful season. Barkley has to go for 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns, 45 catches, and 500 yards and 5 touchdowns to have that $10 million contract be validated. At $32 million per, it damn well better be obtained by A.J. Marshall. Right? Now let's go to our favorite player, Devontae Smith. I've got 1,100 yards and 100 catches. Good? Are we good? We good with that? 1,100? He is the second guy. You can't put him up there with 1,300. Okay? Because AJ's going to get the majority of the targets. So you think Smitty's going to have a better season than A.J. Brown? Okay. Why are you paying him 32? To be a decoy? Oh, all right. I think he has a better. Okay, you gave him an extension too. I got it. That's 1,300, 500, 1,000, 28 receiving yards. Who's getting the other 1,400 yards to total for? I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. So 1,100. Okay. 1,100 yards, 100. So you're going to have two guys with 100 catches. Has that ever happened in NFL history? Oh, you're going to make a little history too. So Devontae Parker in the 3-hole. You only had 36 catches last year. Surely Kellen Moore is going to increase that, right? Surely he's going to increase that. 50 catches, 500 yards. Right? Sound right? Your third wide receiver has got to be a factor eventually. Right? Okay. Devontae Parker, 50 catches. Well, then, how about we do this? Because that's a good point. Won't make the team. Well, how about this one then, Mike? That 3-hole has to produce 50 catches, 500 yards, and someone's got to play there. You traded for him. Devontae Parker. Well, dude, someone's got to catch the ball for Jalen to get 4,200 yards. Dallas Goedert. 75 catches. 850 yards. And 5 touchdowns. Is that fair? Is that fair? 700. Dave, you're paying a guy $15 million to get 700 yards and 65 catches? He's the third highest paid tight end in the league. 700 yards and 65 catches from a guy who makes $15 million. Really? Okay. Look at this, man. What a roster. What a roster. 4,200 passing yards from Hurts. 30 touchdowns. Barkley, 1,800 total yards. 1,300 rushing. 500 receiving. AJ, 1,300 receiving yards. 100 catches. Devontae, 1,100. Oh, no, I'm putting individual. What this is, I'm putting individual benchmarks for the players. That's what this is, Martin. Yeah. Martin, are you under the impression players don't have individual goals that they'd like to reach? Have you not been watching the diva wide receiver position when they bitch about not getting their targets and catches? It's how they get paid, guy. NFL players on offense get paid on numbers, not championships. Did you notice? AJ's never won a championship. He's the highest paid wide receiver. You're not paying him because he's the title winner. You're not paying Devontae Smith because he's a title winner. You didn't pay Jalen Hurts because he's a title winner. You didn't pay Barkley $10 million because he's a title winner. You paid him because he got numbers. So when you bring up that bullshit about Madden, Madden gets you paid. What's the main thing wins? Well, Harris. We've already talked about that. All those numbers that the guys had last year and they got paid this year for resulted in 1-7. We know this. Doesn't matter what these numbers are. It has no bearing. Actually, it has literally no bearing on wins and losses. But these are individual goals. Now let's get to the O-line. Then we'll recap and then go to the defense. Jordan Mailata, Pro Bowl. Paying third highest paid left tackle in the league. Dickerson, highest paid guard. All pro. Guy's making 20. Pro Bowl? No, we're beyond that now. Cam Jurgens starts 17 games. Right guard, I got Keegan in there. Starter. Right tackle, Lane Johnson, all pro. So, here's what the expectations are for your on paper dream team. Jalen Hurts, 4,200, 30 touchdowns, 10 picks. Barkley, 1,300 rushing, 10 touchdowns, 45 catches, 500 yards, and 5 touchdowns. AJ, 1,300 receiving, 100 catches. We did this together. Devontae, 1,100, 100 catches. Parker, 50 catches, 500 yards, 3 touchdowns. Goddard, 75 catches, 850, 5 touchdowns. Mailata, Pro Bowl. Dickerson, all pro. Jurgens, start 17 games. Keegan, starter. Lane, all pro. Don't you think this is fair? Did you think this is fair? If you want me to adjust one, I will. That's quite an offensive output. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're going to have 8 Pro Bowlers on the team then, too, on the offensive side alone. Okay. Okay. I don't think those are out of the question. Expectations for a $50 million guy, a $10 million back, a $32 million wide receiver, an $18.4 million wide receiver, a $15 million tight end, a $20 million tackle, a $20 million guard, Cam Jurgens, Keegan, and a $20 million right tackle. I don't really think that that's a lot to ask, is it? Let's do the defense now. All right. Milton Williams, your starting left defensive end. I got 50 tackles, 7 sacks. Too high? He's never touched 1,200 yards in his life or 1,300 yards, my friend. Just about right. 50 tackles, 7 sacks. Nick says accurate. Milton Williams, who's never played, left defensive end in a 34. 50 tackles, 7 sacks. All right. That's what I'm expecting. Okay. Jordan Davis, 45 tackles, 50 sacks. Be a good year for him? Is that right? $45 tackles, 50 sacks, or 5 sacks, excuse me. Are you good with that? How many sacks? 5. 45 tackles, 5 sacks for Jordan Davis. Good? Okay. 45 tackles and 5 sacks. Jalen Carter. I got 60 tackles, 10 sacks. Good? Troy says Davis is not getting that. Well, if he doesn't get that, he should be dealt. Jalen Carter, 60 tackles and 10 sacks. Okay. So your front four, he's going to produce 22 sacks. Your starting front three, I should say, are going to produce 22 sacks. Okay. Well, 2 of them are first rounders and one's a third rounder. There's a lot of draft equity in those 3 guys. All pro year for Carter. Okay. Will linebacker, Bryce Huff. I got 60 tackles and 11 sacks. Hassan Reddick's number. Actually, let's be fair. I want to double check that. Because Reddick, he had a tough start to the season because of that cast on his hand. What was Hassan Reddick's stats in 2023? Let's see here. Hassan Reddick. Let's see what he had. Hassan Reddick's stats. Let's see what he did. We'll Bryce Huff. Let's see here. Here we go. All right. Let's bring it down. 50's too high. Or 60's too high. 38. 38. 13 TFLs. And 11 sacks. So, Bryce Huff, 38 tackles, 11 sacks, and 13 TFLs. Is that good? You think 38 tackles? Well, let's take a look. Wait. 38 tackles. Senior's laughing. Let's take a look at what Bryce Huff has done in his career. Stat-wise. Bryce Huff stats. Guy you're paying $18 million to. Let's see what he's done in his career compared. Shows you what Senior knows. He's scoffing at 38 tackles, but forgetting the 13 TFLs and the 11 sacks. But let me show you something here about your love child now, who's been in the league 4 years. Let's take a look at his total numbers. Tackles for his career are 65 total. What he did last year is half of what the guy's career's been. Here's Bryce Huff's career. 16 total tackles, 14 total tackles, 6 total tackles, 25 total tackles. He had 25 tackles last year and 10 sacks. You want to laugh? Senor, you should laugh at that because you paid $18 million for that? Okay. I mean, well, he's going to be playing in a 34, so he's going to play Reddick's position. So he's got to come up with 38 tackles, 13 TFLs, and 11 sacks just to cover what Reddick did a year ago. Let's move on. So we're there. Nakobe Dean. What should we put here for Nakobe Dean? Look at Senor. Dean has 43 tackles in 2 years for an inside linebacker. I don't even, hey, I'm sorry, man. I don't mean to laugh. 8 games played? No shit. No shit. Hey, I don't even know what to put down here. What would you put down? You know what I'm going to write down? He plays 17 games. Is that okay? He plays 17 games. Would that be fair? Okay, 17 games. Devin White. 100 tackles and 5 sacks. Shit, you got to at least do what Edwards did or come close to it if you're so good. I didn't put 139 tackles down. I just put 100 down. Is that okay? Right? 100 tackles. Kaiser White had 117. 105. Okay, we're good. We've agreed to that. Nolan Smith. I got 60 tackles and 10 sacks at the strong side linebacker. You're in a 34. 60 tackles and 10 sacks, right? Right? First rounder. Nick goes 10. Seals, come on. Wait a minute. He's a first-round draft choice. 5 sacks for Nolan Smith. 60 tackles and 10 sacks from your strong side linebacker. I don't think that's absurd. Here. He kind of plays a duplicate position. Micah Parsons stats. Let's see here. Micah Parsons stats. Yeah. Here's Micah Parsons' numbers. 64 tackles, 14 sacks. I'm not even asking him. I'm asking him to do 10 sacks and 60 tackles. So the guy who people think is the player of the year only has 64 tackles and 14 sacks. And you think that guy's getting 10. Okay. Fangio 10-man defense playbook. All right. Now we get to the fun part, the DBs. You guys got to, hey, I love this, man, because I'm going to hold all of you accountable. And you know what I'm going to do? We're going to play some of these clips back at the end of the year, and I'm swearing to you, I'm going to put this up there, what you're thinking these players individually are going to do this year. And we'll see how close we are right or wrong to what they did and didn't do. Way to go. Hurts will be the second quarterback in Eagle history to throw for 4,000 yards and break Carson Wentz's record and be one of the very first few guys to throw for 30 touchdowns. There's only been one. Wentz. Try it accountable. You have all these high expectations on these guys. These are really lofty expectations. Nolan Smith, Dean playing, Carter 10, Milton Williams even. Do you know he can play the position? This is what the Eagles have put on this. This is what they're expecting. How about this now? Let's get to the secondary. Quinnen Williams, 60 tackles, 5 picks? Or is that too high? It is fun picking. I'm talking about starters right now, Nick. I'm talking about the people that they have on their starting depth chart. About Quinion Mitchell, 60 tackles, 5 picks, 7 interceptions. So you expect, Joseph, that he's going to lead the National Football League in interceptions. Is that what you're saying? Let's see what the number was and how close Joseph is. Joseph wants Mitchell to have 7 picks. Okay. Who led the NFL in interceptions in 2023? 9. So you and the guy who finished second was Stone in Cincinnati with 7. So you expect him to have the second highest total of an NFL veteran who finished second in INTs at 7. Okay. You want him to have 7. Should we upgrade that or do we keep it at 5? Curious. Okay. Keep it at 5. Crowley, I'm with you. Let's keep it at 5 and keep it fair here. Gardner Johnson, 60 tackles, 5 picks. Good. I think, Dave, it's going to be more like 2, maybe. Gardner Johnson. By the way, let me take a look at that. What secondary had the most interceptions in the NFL in 2023? Let's see here. INTs. 49ers had 22. The Eagles had 9. Bears had 22. Cincinnati at 17. Bills at 18. You had 9. Okay, so Gardner Johnson at 5. Well, there's 10 right there. Reed Blankenship. 2. Darius Slay. 60 tackles, 4. Okay. So that's 16. That's 16 picks. That would put you, let's see here. Let's see here. The Eagles had 9. That would put you with the Steelers, the Jags. Yeah. you make you 1, 2, 3, fifth in the league in turnovers with your starting group if you put all those numbers together. So, Slay 60 tackles and 4 picks. By the way, between Bradbury and Slay last year, you had 3 combined. Reed, 70 tackles, 2 picks. Gardner Johnson, 60 and 5. Mitchell, 60 and 5. Those are your secondary. You're going to finish 4th in INTs under Vic Fangio. Okay. If you hit all these goals, offensively and defensively, you win the Super Bowl. If you hit all these goals, you're going to win the Super Bowl. Once again, Steve, who gives a shit about 15-2? You could be 9-8. Win a Super Bowl. Nobody cares. Stop, bro. You're full of shit. How am I full of shit? You don't think if Jalen Hurts throws for 4,200 yards, 2,000-yard receivers for 3 years in a row, a tight end with almost 900 yards receiving, a running back with almost $2,000 in total yards, everybody in the O-line almost making all-pro, 22 sacks out of your starting 3. Let's see in your linebacking core, how many sacks there alone in your linebackers with 4? This is what you're saying is cool and what you're good with your starting. Get this. Listen to this one, Xander. Everyone sat here and agreed with this, and here's your 4 linebacker sack totals. 28, 5, 32. So out of you're telling me you believe you're going to get 42 sacks and another 22 sacks out of your starting 3 up front, and you're going to have 64 sacks this year. Your expectations are out of your minds. This is a nice little exercise to show you how full of shit you are. You really think you're going to get 64 sacks this year? Really? You think you're going to get 22 sacks from your starting 3? Let me get this right here. 11. I'm wrong on Dean. Shit, man. Dean, 3. White, 5, 8, 9. And then 29 sacks. Excuse me. 22. So you're going to get 51 sacks between your starting 3 and your 4 are going to give you 22 sacks. You're going to get 51 sacks with that group. Sound right? Your linebacking core is going to give you 22 sacks between Huff, (21). Let's see, Huff 11, Dean 3, that's 14. 5 for White, it's 29. So 29 and 22, right? It's 51. You're going to get 51 sacks this year. Sound right? I'm talking about your starting group. I'm not talking about backups. I did not forget Sweat. He's not a starter. Okay? Only if we blitz a lot. He doesn't blitz. So, that's a pretty big expectation. AJ over 1,300 yards. Devontae over 1,100. Both guys with 100 catches. I'm not sure that's ever happened. 2 100-catch guys on one team. It may have. I don't know in today's NFL. And Goddard's going to have 75 for 80. And Jalen's going to go for 4,200 yards and 30 touchdowns. And he's never thrown for 25. Okay. Hey, I think you're right. You should expect that. Smith is not starting over Sweat. That's what they have on the depth chart right now. The Eagles in their locker room right now, Josh Sweat's second team. I don't know why either. I'm just going by the depth chart that Clint Hurt gave me. I mean, Lions, Broncos, Cardinals, Colts, Broncos as the only receiving duos with 100 catches and 1,000 yards. Okay. Lions didn't win the Super Bowl. Broncos didn't win the Super Bowl in 2000. I don't think. Those expectations significantly undervalue Barkley's potential contribution. You think 1,800 yards in total offense undervalues his contribution? You haven't had a running back in the last 2 years give you 1,800 yards in total offense? What are you talking about? A 2,000 total offense guy undervalues what? Sills, if our defense is top 10, we're going to the Super Bowl. Correct. Unless the quarterback doesn't play well like he did last year with the same talent pretty much. Remember, he played, again, you're relying on the quarterback to get better and the coordinator to be better. You're assuming that. Hey, Niner, I think it's comedy too to think that all these guys are going to land on those numbers. So there's going to be a boatload of guys that are not going to live up to this. Just like last year. They're not all panning it out. And by the way, think about something else. Niner all day. They lived up to those numbers last year. Pretty much 1,100 yards rushing. 1,000-yard receiving. 100-catch guy. The other guy had 1,000. The quarterback had 38-something passing. And they still shit the bed. False narrative to say Jalen was trash last year. Well, all I know was 1-7 was trash. He needs to bring down the INT totals. You're not bringing down those INT totals, LJ, throwing the ball more and running the ball less. You're not. And it doesn't matter if you have 3 1,000-yard wide receivers. It didn't matter you had 2 the last 2 years. You still haven't won a Super Bowl. Last year, you weren't close. The year before, you were. I told you in 22, that's the best team Jalen will ever play on. This team here is not better than the 22 team. You know why? Because you're just on paper right now. Still building the roster? I like Spin's attitude. Let's wait for the cast-offs June 1 again, right? Now, if he makes a trade, that's another thing. He makes a trade, that's another thing. Okay? Nick hates to run the ball. Dude, please, do me a favor, Slayer. Don't bring Nick's name into anything when it comes to the direction of the offense, because he has no say. So he really, in theory, has no input whatsoever when it comes to that. All right. We're going to talk a little Cowboys and the rivals in the NFC East with Mark Holmes. I got the Cowboy draft. I want to hear how he looks at that. So let's take a timeout. We're going to do our simulcast as we always do, 3:30. Each and every single week here on JAKIB and with Mark, who covers the Cowboys. Hit the like button, please. We appreciate you guys so much. Keep it here, National Football Show.